Hey everybody, so my name is Sean James and I'm going to be discussing the issue of Initiative 1639, which is going to be up on the ballot in Washington State on November 6th of 2018. So this initiative is surrounding gun rights. So you have individuals on one side that which feel like they're going to be common sense initiatives in order to help reduce gun violence. And I was reading a Seattle Times article and it was saying that it was going to do great things in terms of less suicide by guns and things of that nature. Now, personally, I feel that Initiative 1639 is a horrible direction to go when it comes to our gun rights in Washington State. So I'm just going to be briefly going over what the bill is and discussing the issues and the flaws that I find with this initiative. So my biggest issue with this initiative, so we'll say the number one spot, is going to be the increase of the age that is required to purchase assault weapons. So this age is going to be increased from the age of 18 through 21. So you're going to have to be 21 in order to purchase assault weapons if this were to be passed. I believe that's going to be starting January 1st of 2019. And I believe portions of the initiative are going to be passed later in 2019. Now, why I feel like this is so horrible is because this initiative says it's so passé, is that it's common sense because people are still developing in their brains from the ages of 18 through 21. So we can't trust them when it comes to using high power weapons that can shoot rapidly, such as an AR-15, AK-47, SKS, or whatever you would deem to be an assault weapon, which would be a semi-automatic weapon. Now, my issue with this is that we trust people of the age of 18 to sign up for selective service if you're going to be getting any student loans or applying for any federal jobs. I have friends in the armed service that do use assault weapons from the age of 18, and the military trusts them to go over to other countries in order to utilize these weapons in order to promote democracy and freedom or whatever wars that the United States is supporting at that moment in time. At the age of 18, it's also important that we do have the right to vote as citizens, which I would say is a very, very powerful right that we have, arguably more important than our rights to firearms, because it allows us to make decisions on elected officials that could, bomb other countries, drone strikes, invasions, etc. So for us to trust 18-year-olds at this age where we're going to say, hey, you're going to be, you're adults now. Your parents aren't going to watch out after you. You can get loans. You're responsible over your financial security and things of that nature. You have to move out of the house and actually start working, actually being a productive member of society. Now, if we're going to say that at the age of 18, that's when we're going to be expecting that out of these young folks, then I feel that it's laughable that they're going to say, hey, we're going to take away your rights and liberties under the Constitution because that's just common sense. Now, I would strongly disagree with that for the reasons that I quoted before, is that at that age, if we're going to trust you to be an adult, I feel like you should have the same exact liberties and rights that anybody else over the age of 18 should have. I don't feel that restricting you anymore should be the case. Now, if you want to discuss whether or not 18 should be the age that you are an adult, that's a different conversation. Should parents be responsible over you until you're 21, 25, or whenever we determine mentally you are an adult? I think that's an important discussion, but that's not the discussion that's being had right now. The discussion that's being had right now is that we're already assuming, hey, you're 18, you're still a child in the eyes of the government. We're going to treat you like a child. You can't have access to assault rifles. You can't have access to certain things because the age of the majority just feel like you don't deserve that right. And I feel that that's horrible. The second big thing I have against this gun law is that Class C felonies will be the case if you do leave your gun unsecured and a prohibited individual gets access to that firearm. Now, what I don't like about this part of the initiative is that it's very vague in terms of what would be considered as securely, fastened down would be the term that I would use. So I think that there could be some trouble in the future about people getting felonies for things that before and previously they thought were perfectly safe and normal for them to do with their firearms, so that they could have access to it just in case a home invasion happens or any other thing occurs where access to a firearm would be necessary in order to keep an individual safe from an aggressor. And my biggest argument against this, just philosophically, is that if someone decides to leave a knife on a kitchen table, someone picks it up and starts stabbing someone to death with it, I don't feel that you're liable. Because a knife does not make any decisions for itself. It's an inanimate object, similar to a firearm. Is that without the around in the chamber, someone physically pulling the trigger without the safety on, a firearm will not go off, and it is not a threat to anybody. It's just an inanimate object. And to say that a firearm's the only thing that you're going to get a Class C felony for, whereas knives, crowbars, guitars, I mean, if you just listening to people over at Marine Corps boot camp about how they use everything that they can as a weapon and how that they're able to apply anything as a weapon, I honestly don't think that it's fair for a Class C felony to be the crime, or I guess the punishment that one would get for leaving their firearm unsecured. Now, I would say definitely, if you do have a firearm, keep it as secure as possible. I know most firearm owners don't want their guns stolen, so I would say, you know, most firearm owners tend to keep their things relatively secure. And I really don't think that we should criminalize individuals that are already victims of a crime, such as someone stealing their firearm or other things of that nature. Another issue that I have with this is the mandatory 5-year training every 5 years for these assault weapons. So if this law were to get passed, assault rifles purchased after that date would need for you to have weapons training. Now, I'm assuming that this isn't going to be free weapons training. At least I haven't read anywhere in that document that the weapons training will be free. So I'm assuming that that's going to be an extra cost burden that's going to be occurring to the citizens of the state of Washington. Is that you're not going to be able to purchase assault weapons until you get that training every 5 years. So I don't think that's fair, just because, you know, people from low income areas or people that don't maybe make enough, they don't have access to the resources maybe that this training might require from them. So I think that it definitely hurts the lower class communities worse with that respect. I also think that there's definitely a lot of ways to learn on your own, whether that be finding a mentor in your community that has experience with firearms, family members, friends, anything of that nature in order to handle firearms. I know I took a friend pistol shooting one time and I taught him how to use a Glock 19. I taught him how to, you know, the slide, making sure to have the gun pointed in a safe direction, always assuming that the firearm's loaded, and things of that nature. So I really think that gun training overall could be done on your own. I don't think that the government forcing it upon us is necessary for that, especially since it's a liberty. It'd be one thing if it's like a driver's license, because in some respect we don't have the liberty or that's protected by the Constitution to drive. So mandatory training for that is perfectly fine with me. But concerning firearms being a constitutional right, I don't think that there should be mandated training in order to purchase them. Another issue that I have with this initiative is the $25 fee, and I say that that's going to be the maximum fee that they have the right to charge when purchasing firearms due to the cost of the extra paperwork that's going to be done through this process if this initiative gets passed. I also think that pushes the cost to legal gun owners, and I think that's horrible. I already know that in my municipality, which is Seattle, Washington, there's already an extra tax on top of firearm purchases, which I think hurts lower income communities the most, simply because it's an extra cost to pay for the means of defending yourself and you know, that liberty of having your own firearm to defend yourself, your family, and those around you. So I think that's horrible also, is that we're increasing the price of the paperwork and the red tape for this horrible initiative in the first place. So besides that though, I mean, that's really all I have to say about initiative I1639. I don't recommend anyone voting on this initiative with a yes. I think everyone should vote no on 1639. And I really hope that the state of Washington can really come together in order to vote no on I-1639, just to ensure that the rights and liberties that I've had in my own lifetime, and you know, my relatives down the line have had the rights and liberties. I feel that the next generation should keep those liberties, and I don't think that adding extra restraints to these firearms is going to be the best decision in terms of maintaining our constitutional liberties. I do appreciate everybody spending the time to listen to me rant about this initiative. If you're not registered to vote, definitely go in. I think the time to register online is over and the mail-in time is over, so I would definitely walk into wherever it is that you'd register to vote and vote no on I1639 and keep standing up for our constitutional rights to own and to use firearms. Thank you, and I hope everybody enjoys the rest of their Tuesday.